Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you're new here. Today we have a full moon in Sagittarius, so this is a time to let things go, to release things, to, kind of like cycles completing and closing is what we get with the full moon. So for today, we'll be reading your tarot cards in that way. So I have 3 groups for you. You can pick group 1, group 2, or group 3. You can pick by the card you can see, the number, the sound of my voice, whatever resonates for you. When you're ready, all the timestamps are below, and I will see you at the reading that you chose. Hi everyone, welcome. So we're going to pick group number 1. So you'll pick the card Change. Don't scare yourself with the next 40 steps. All you need is that one next action. You can say to love, just show me the first step and change me into one who can take it. So this is really good advice. Anytime we have to take change or it's time to change or anything like that, sometimes we can get really caught up in thinking how far we have to go or how is it all going to unfold or what's going to happen or, whatever, anything like that. But the important thing to remember is that consistency works because everything adds up, right? So you don't have to think about the next 40 steps. You don't have to think about, 100 million years from now. You don't have to think about how is everything going to happen? How's it going to unfold? Blah, 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 right? You can just think about, okay, just give me the courage to just do one thing, just do one next right action, one small thing. And then when I keep doing that over and over again, it's all going to add up. It's all going to make sense. It's all going to come together, right? When we start doing something, we get better at it. We learn as we continue. And also as we continue to go, like we meet other people or people fall into our laps or like these things just kind of unfold in a way that is really magical once we start to take action. So this card's just a reminder that, like, again, you don't have to control everything. You don't have to, figure, okay, I need every single thing to unfold perfectly for me to trust that this is how I can take action and this is what I can do, right? This card's a reminder that you can do one thing at a time. You can trust yourself to do one thing at a time and trusting that those things will come together. And there is kind of like these things that happen once we start taking action, right? We get more clear, we get more aware, we understand like, trial and error. This is working, this is not working for me. So don't scare yourself with the next 40 steps. That's really, really good advice, right? If we can just think one thing at a time, one decision at a time, one choice at a time, like all of those things are going to add up for us. And that is what helps us to keep moving forward. So just take one little baby action, do one thing at a time, one day at a time, have faith it's all adding up, things are happening, and will continue to add up in that way for you. Okay, I'm going to look at some tarot cards for you guys. Group 1. Okay, so we have the 2 of Cups, 4 of Cups, and then the Tower. So first thing I'm seeing here is you really just with this theme of change, like you really need to meet yourself where you are, right? You can't think 40 steps ahead. You can't be like, oh, well, sometimes when we start something, we get frustrated because we realize like how much of a beginner we are, or how far away we want to be from the place we want to go or what we want to have happen. And so we can get kind of like frustrated with ourselves, and then that can block us from moving forward. So what I'm hearing is having compassion for yourself, feeling really careful and gentle with yourself, and just really trusting that, like, okay, I have to meet myself where I am. I have to do what I can do for myself right now. Because otherwise, it's this thing of, I don't want to accept this help. I don't want it to be this way. I don't want to do it, right? If we think the 40 steps ahead, if we think about that, right, that's when we can shut down and we can be like, I don't even want to do this because I don't want to deal with 40 steps from now, or I don't want to think super far ahead, or I don't want to, whatever. So this is a reminder that it is about meeting yourself where you are, and it is about staying open and just thinking like, okay, I can do one little thing. I can do just today. I can do one thing at a time, right? And then we have the Tower, where you have to let it all go. What is going to fall apart, it's going to fall apart. What is going to leave is going to leave. What is not going to work for you is not going to work for you. What you have to let go of, you have to let go of, right? So there's all these things that are happening that leave and release as we start to take action and move forward. So this is a reminder that when you meet yourself where you are and you start to change, things are going to fall apart and change. And and be different, and just having faith that, you know, when that happens, it's for the greater good. It's for something else to come in there and take up space in a way that is helpful for your life. And it's not like, it's not punishment. You know, sometimes we can feel like, oh, well, this is leaving and this was an amazing thing in my life, and now it's not, right? But it really is about just having faith that things that leave are leaving for a reason. Okay, and then we have Eight of Cups, the World, and Queen of Pentacles. So this, again, just exactly what I was talking about with some more loss, right? You have to let things go for something new to happen. You have to release things for something new to happen. So this is really about just like accepting that loss is part of life, right? You know, sometimes when if we aren't secure in ourselves, or we like place a lot of our worth into something and then it leaves, it doesn't feel the best. And obviously, of course, loss is normal. If you put time and energy into something, it doesn't feel the best when you don't have it anymore. But this is just remembering that, you know, loss is part of change, and there's nothing wrong with you at that if that happens. And especially we have the World here, so like a cycle completing. And so like when we do have loss, it's usually time to move something better, right? When we think about change, we get really excited and we're like, this is going to happen. All these new things are going to come into my life and I'm so excited and all this stuff, right? But then actually, you know, we have to accept that loss does come with change, which, you know, sometimes doesn't feel the best, but it is part of the process. And then we have the Queen of Pentacles here. So this really, to me, Pentacles is earth energy. It's about groundedness. So like, can you really ground within yourself? Can you really hold space for yourself? Can you really just feel like, okay, amidst all this loss that happens as I'm closing things and moving forward and creating something new in my life, can I still connect to myself and feel, you know, feel at peace and just feel like I made a home within myself. And so I can always tap into that. I can always connect to myself. I can always feel, you know, I know how to self-soothe myself. I know how to feel like the steadiness within me. Can you do all that amidst this loss as you start to change and unfold this next cycle of your life? So can you, that's, you know, that's really a testament to our relationship with ourselves. It's like how much we've built with ourselves to be able to create that like grounded energy for ourselves, especially amidst change, especially amidst, you know, things changing or looking different or loss or, you know, all these different types of things. Okay, and then for your last little tarot cards, wow, that's so beautiful. We have the Four of Wands, the Knight of Wands, and the Ten of Cups. Okay, so this is really saying to me that, you know, look at these two cards. This is about like physical reality fulfillment, and this is about like emotional fulfillment, right? So really beautiful energy here with like trusting that, and, you know, and again, trusting this Knight of Wands. Knight energy is about movement. It's about doing something, but trusting that if you just keep along the path and keep going, you will be able to reach the fulfillment in these two ways, right? So sometimes we can be like, oh, where is it? It's not happening. It doesn't feel good. It's not, you know, whatever. But this is a reminder that, you know, as long as you keep moving forward and keep doing that change, just do one step at a time, one thing at a time, right? It can result in these two forms of fulfillment for yourself there. Sometimes we can get really focused on the areas of change of just like, wow, this doesn't feel good or this doesn't whatever, right? And then we forget what we're working towards or what's going to feel really good on the other side of that change once we get there. So this is a reminder that, you know, if change doesn't feel the best in every single moment, that it will be worth it when you get to the other side, and like having faith and trusting that and leaning into that. You know, trusting the process, reminding yourself why you're going through this process, why you're going to get on the other side, why it's going to be worth it. You know, all of those wonderful things. Okay, I'm going to pick one oracle card for you guys. Underworld. Okay, so this card to me in regards to change is really talking about like there are things in your subconscious that you're working out. There are things on the soul level. There are lessons that you need to learn as you continue to grow and change and expand in these ways. So Underworld is a reminder that there's things beyond the scenes going on that you can't see, that you don't really know about, that you know, we can be so focused on like, oh, well, look at this change that's happening in reality. And maybe like, I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't want this to be happening. I don't want this. I don't want it, whatever, right? We can get really focused on that we forget to tap into our subconscious, our underworld, our relationship with ourselves, some of these things that like we can't see with the eye that aren't as pressing to the ego as the rest of these things. So this card is a reminder that there are things below the surface that are going on that are important for us to pay attention to think about, okay, what's going on in my life that is, teaching me something in this way, shape, or form, and all of that. So with change, just remember there usually is a bigger picture going on here, and sometimes we can't see the point of the change, or how many things it had affected on purpose, or why it was so beneficial until months or even years later with things. So just remembering, like underworld, these things are going on, and just having faith in everything that's going on besides the thing that like our ego wants to laser focus on when we go through change in our lives. Okay, I'm going to close your reading with one affirmation card for you guys. Look at this. Life wants me to be happy. Very beautiful. Okay, so this is just a reminder that sometimes when, like I was just saying, when change happens, we can really get caught up in like, oh my God, this feels so bad. Why is this happening to me? Blah, 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 right? But like, what's on the other side of the change? What's on the other side of pushing ourselves to be better, do something different, like actually really is fulfilling and will be worth it and will help us get to the other side. So just a reminder that like, we live in a kind universe. God is gentle and kind. Life wants me to be happy, right? Phrase it how it works for you. But if we believe that, then we can remember that like, okay, these things that we just have to deal with in this realm, loss, change, hardship, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because those things transform us and help us on the soul level, and we can make meaning of them in the way that works for us to realize, okay, this is why this, and this happened, right? So life wants me to be happy. It's up to us to decide if we live in a hostile or generous universe realm, and go from there. But just life wants me to be happy. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's for everyone who picked group number 2. So you all pick the card Direction. Lord, please show me the right action right now. Please bring a sign and a miracle that gives clear direction. May I hear the promptings of my own body, and if for some reason I'm about to head the wrong way, please stop me. Okay, this is a really beautiful prayer. Sometimes, for those of us who have lived through stressful situations, or like in situations where we didn't have all the resources we need, or the freedom or the agency, right? A lot of our choices could have come from a place of like fear, or limited resources, or not availability, or just like responding to things around us, right? So when we get to this place where it's like, wow, I can make choices because I have space in my life now where I can act from a place of like trust and, not panic and not total fear and not all these things, right? Sometimes direction can be hard to feel because it's like, oh, I don't have to, it's not like life or death anymore. I get to choose what I'm choosing, when I'm choosing it, all of that, right? So please show me the right action right now. This is just a reminder that like, sometimes we can get really caught up in, okay, I have to make this choice. So what am I going to do? What's going to happen? Right? All this stuff. But, just remember that most actions you can correct. You can choose something different. You can be on a path and realize, okay, actually, no, I want a different choice. I want to do something different. Right? So there are things that we can correct. But also the universe is self-correcting. The universe does things to we make a choice and things come together and we go forward with that, right? Like usually taking action and moving forward is more helpful than not. So sometimes, we can get really scared to make the wrong choice, that we don't choose anything. But a lot of times clarity does come from action, and clarity comes from taking a step forward and trying to do something, trying to make something happen, right? So you can ask for direction, of course. You can ask for guidance, of course. But what I'm really hearing with this is like, it's more important to just kind of make the choice. And for some things that feel, there's certain things in life where we're like, okay, this is absolutely yes, this is absolutely no, right? And then there's some things where it's kind of like, I don't really know what the right choice is, right? Usually in those situations, it's like whatever you choose is fine. I mean, that's always true, but whatever you choose is like not going to be, you can't miss what's for you. You can't miss your destiny. You can't, you can undo certain choices to a certain degree. So what I'm also hearing with this card is like, if you have to make a choice, group 2, and you're worried about the direction, like just kind of easing up on yourself, trusting the decision you're going to make, trusting all of these things. And just, again, just remembering that like, taking some of the pressure off yourself and not, I don't want to like sound crass here and like minimize if something is like a really important decision for you, but just remembering that, it's not, sometimes the ego can tell us it's this really like life or death situation and really intense and it has to be like this, when really, that's not the case typically, right? So just remembering that, clear direction can sometimes, it doesn't have to feel super, super intense and like absolutely, like this. Like there can be a little bit of an in-between. Okay, I'm going to pull some tarot cards for you. All right, what I'm hearing is balance, okay? Balance definitely, definitely, definitely for you guys. So we have Five of Pentacles, Knight of Swords, and Six of Pentacles. So this is kind of like, we have the two extremes here with these two cards, okay? So this Five of Pentacles is like being left out in the cold and like totally not listening to yourself and totally like, I'm not in tune with myself at all. I don't know what my wants are. I don't know what my needs are. I don't know what's going on for me at all, right? So that's this card. And then this card is more of just like, cast everything aside, just going to move forward, just going to run with it, just going to go, just going to do all of this, right? So this Knight of Swords is, kind of the other extreme of just like no thinking, just going, action, da 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 da, kind of like also not being in tune with yourself, but just acting in like a way that's really reckless and just like impulsive, and I'm just going to do this and I'm just going to go here and this is what's going to happen and all this stuff, when it's like looking at these two cards together, right? One is like completely ignoring yourself and one is like being so caught up in yourself that you don't consider anything else. So these two cards together, again, two sides of the same coin, but just thinking about that. And then the Six of Pentacles, this is about balance. There's the scales there, but this is also about like giving and receiving. So just really thinking about, okay, how can I tune into myself? How can I offer some balance with myself? How can I, again, find that place that's a little more like not one or the other, but kind of, the middle ground, the peaceful way, the solid way, all these things working together. So really holding space for yourself with that. So I feel like, for group two, when we talk about direction or hearing guidance, right, it's not about one extreme or the other, but kind of maybe hearing both sides and then being like, okay, what's the middle ground? What's the compromise here? How can I take a little bit from this spot and a little bit from this and put it together to kind of like make a decision that works for me? And not totally like freaking yourself out about everything in every way. Yeah, lots of in your head energy. All right. Lots and I feel like, again, the main message I'm getting for you in group two, guys, is just like choice paralysis and just like being so afraid to make a choice that you just like choose nothing, basically, which is like, again, there is time to sit and think and be like, what do I want? What do I choose? Like all that, right? But there also is the other extreme, which is like, you don't do anything because you're thinking so long, you're taking so much time with that, right? So I see that with you have the Seven of Swords and the Seven of Wands and Nine of Swords, right? So this is like inner conflict. This is getting lost in your head, just turning, right? And even this card here, this Nine of Swords, which is like staying up all night, can't think, or I mean, you're overthinking, so you can't sleep, right? So these two things is kind of like this internal, I just see like these gears moving really, really fast internally, right? Just this energy of like, I can't choose for myself. I can't know what's going on. I can't like whatever, right? With all of that. And so again, here we go. Knight of Pentacles, slow and steady wins the race, right? So just very, very, just take one little step, right? And so again, what I'm hearing for, again, group two with you guys, it's not so much about getting the exact right direction, but it's just about taking one little step and then like having that add up with all these things, right? Because like, again, sometimes we're like, oh, I didn't hear the guidance yet, so I don't know what to do, right? Sometimes you have to like put your toe in the water. Sometimes you got to check it out or you got to see what's going on before you can decide what the right thing is for you. And again, part of sometimes how that happens is by taking one baby step forward and starting to make something happen and being like, I tried this, but that doesn't actually work for me. Or I tried this thing and that does work for me. And, so just really, again, getting out of your own way and just trying to do something and trying to make something happen. Because clarity does come from action. Clarity does come from taking a step, trial and error. The human experience and experiment that is life definitely does take some time to sort out, and we have to sort out what works for me, what doesn't work for me, with all of that. Okay, and then we have the Nine of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune, and the King of Cups. Yeah, so again, I feel like this is really talking about like trusting yourself, trusting what you feel. Again, not overthinking to the point that you don't make any choice at all, right? That's important. And then the Wheel of Fortune here is really about like the hands of fate working with you, adding things up, moving forward, doing all of these things in a way that you know, like you do your part and God is going to do God's part. The universe is going to do the universe's part, right? So all of these things adding up together. And then this Knight of Cups is about like emotional intelligence. So I feel like, again, it's about what I'm getting from these three cards is trusting the choice that feels right to you. Again, this isn't the end all be all. This isn't the I'm choosing this now, so I have to keep going in this direction forever, right? You can change your mind, you can be different, you can choose something different. Okay. So trusting that, trusting what's going to come together and work on your behalf and help you when you do that. And then, you know, trusting that, you know, sometimes we have some trial and error back and forth, or things don't always work exactly perfectly, right? Or the way we thought they were going to when we do something. And sometimes the point of that is to develop our emotional intelligence to help us feel and grow and learn in that way, because, you know, sometimes the things that we learn along the path, like make us a better match for the thing we're waiting for, right? Or we weren't emotionally mature enough for the thing we wanted, and so that's why we had to take this little detour, and then it's like, okay, now I'm actually like ready for it, even though I wasn't before, right? So really having faith in that and leaning into that is important, and not, you know, thinking like, oh well, it has to be this exact direction, this exact way, and this all of that, you know, but instead just really honoring you know, honoring the path that gets you to where you're going. Okay, I'm going to pick one oracle card for you guys. Look at this, boundaries. Okay, so this is a really good, boundaries are important always in your life. So this is a really great card for you, but I think especially with this direction thing, right? It's really going to be like, what am I choosing within myself? What am I listening to? What am I not listening to? What feels right? What feels wrong? What feels good? What doesn't feel good, right? So sometimes boundaries we can think about with other people, but for the context of this reading group too, what I'm really hearing is like the boundaries that you keep with yourself are going to determine how you hear your guidance for yourself to move forward, right? So what boundaries do I need to have with myself? What do I want to say to myself? What do I, you know, whatever, all of that, but really thinking about, you know, okay, if this feels like this, then I'm going to move in this way. Or I tried this thing out and it didn't really like unfold the way I wanted, so I'm going to try something else, right? So boundaries definitely are important in terms of like, you know, or it could be even something as simple as like, I'm making this choice and I'm not going to second guess it after I've made it, right? If I need to adjust it or fine tune it or use discernment, I can do that, but I'm not going to like completely make myself feel bad or upset because I chose something different after I had made this other decision, right? You're allowed to change your mind. Okay, we'll close the one affirmation card for you guys. Look at this. I choose peace. Okay. So you don't have to suffer. You don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to whatever, right? So again, when we think about direction, when we think about boundaries, when we think about moving forward, it's like sometimes it's like what choice feels like relief to me. That's usually that's a good indicator of what to choose, what feels like relief, what feels good to me, what feels, you know, all this. So I choose peace as a reminder that you can you know, you can make certain things be a certain way, or happen in a certain way, or do all of this. So I choose peace as a reminder, like sometimes it is about, it doesn't mean stuff isn't challenging, right? You're not pushing yourself, you're not growing. That can coexist with peace. But again, sometimes the choice is like, which choice, which direction here will bring me peace, will bring me comfort. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 3. So I'll pick the card Courage. Divine courage is not the absence of fear, but a nudge that says, keep going, do it, don't worry, all will be well. You have to get quiet enough to hear it. Dear Divine, may I feel your courage and your will. So this is really beautiful. It reminds me of the saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I just want to remind you all, if you pick this group 3, that, you know, sometimes we think like, oh, well, I feel scared while I'm doing it, so I must not have courage, right? You know, so many people feel afraid and then don't take action, but feeling afraid and taking action anyway, that's a definition of courage, right? Showing up even when you're scared, even when you don't know what's going to happen, even when you don't feel like totally sure of yourself or the outcome or anything that's going to happen, right? This is just a reminder that, you know, if, and really just like taking a moment to put your hand on your heart to say to yourself, like, keep going, do it, don't worry, all will be well, I can do it, I can keep going, I can do one day at a time, I can make something happen, I can change things, right? All this is really just about reminding yourself that courage can coexist with a lot of other things that might not seem like courage, right? So trusting yourself, moving forward, balance, all of these things, but just a reminder that taking action and doing something is very courageous, no matter how you're feeling on the inside, right? So sometimes it's just taking action in order to get to that next place instead of feeling like, oh, I could never get there, I could never, you know, all of that. So just really trusting that and leaning into it is, you know, trusting the courage it takes for you to consider another choice, to consider something different, to do something different, right? But just remembering that courage doesn't mean that you don't feel fear at all. It just means that you are, you know, you're moving forward and you're trying new things with that. Okay, I'm going to pull some tarot cards for you guys, group 3. Okay, so we have the 3 of Cups, the Emperor, and the 7 of Cups. So I feel like, you know, again, it seems like there's, it feels like your energy is split. So just like, woohoo, I can just party and do whatever I want and like all these things. And, you know, I can just, you know, blah, 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 move through life and see what happens and do all of that, right? And then we have the Emperor, who's like a little more of a serious guy. And he's like, this is what I have to do. This is what's happening. This is whatever, right? And so what I'm hearing is like thinking like, okay, these two things are, they're too different from each other. They don't, they can't go together. They can't do all of this, right? But then we have this beautiful 7 of Cups, which is about remembering that you have choices, remembering you have options, remembering you can make things happen and be different for you. And just remembering that like courage includes, okay, I'm going to take this, this, and this from these things. I'm going to put these together. This is how I'm going to do this, this, and this, right? But really trusting that and holding that for yourself. And the other thing that I'm hearing with this too, for this is like really finding that balance between like community support and support within yourself, right? So courage does take you to show up for yourself, to change yourself, to want to have a different life, to do all these things. But it really is helpful when we can rely on community, when we can rely on people we trust, when we can use our resources and connections and people we know to move us forward. And that does open up possibility for us, right? That does help us feel like, okay, I do have a choice here. I can make something happen. Something can be different, right? These things can add up and be different in that way. So just really holding space for that and remembering, you know, how can I rely on myself while also relying on my community, while relying on these other resources in my life, right? All of those things. You know, not necessarily just it has to be this exact way, this is the exact thing. Like, how can I pull from these multiple areas of my life and have them all add up together, instead of just thinking again. It just has to be one way, one path. I'm hearing a lot of like blending of things together for you, group 3, right? So this courage energy of just like, oh, I feel fearful, so I can't have courage, but you can have both. Look at this. Okay, then we have the Moon, the King of Swords, and the Queen of Swords. So I'm hearing a lot of boundary work. Okay, a lot of boundary work, especially against yourself. You know that saying, don't believe everything you think. Thoughts aren't facts, right? So the Moon is about subconscious energy, about like, you know, kind of our relationship with ourselves, what's going on within ourselves. So when we have courage to do something different, to be different, right? A lot of our old stories come up, a lot of these limiting beliefs come up, a lot of these things within ourselves that we've internalized that we don't actually believe come up. And so we have to move forward and kind of like, you know, decide, okay, well, where am I going to go? What's going to happen? What am I looking at? And so I feel like, you know, with this, if you need courage to move forward, to do something different, if you feel like, oh my God, my limiting belief is coming up, I don't feel good about myself, I don't whatever, right? Just leaning into that and having faith and trusting that, like that's a sign that you're on progress, right? These things come up so we can deal with them, so we can change them, so we can release them, not because you're incapable, not because you can't do it, not because whatever, right? And again, we have this really beautiful King and Queen of Swords here. So this is about boundaries. And I think, having these two energies together, this is a lot of self-mastery, and just leaning into that and trusting that and just saying like, okay, I can handle this. I can set new boundaries with myself in regards to the stories I tell myself, the things I believe about myself, how much compassion I show myself, how much kindness and patience and understanding I show myself, right? So just really trusting, when these things come up, when we are brave enough to have courage and do something different, it is a reminder that we can take some space for ourselves, that we can, set boundaries and do those types of things for ourselves. Okay, let's look at a few more cards. Okay, so yeah, I think what we're hearing here again, so something else that comes up when we have courage to do something different is some heartbreak, like it could be, again, old wounds coming back up, old sadness, old things to deal with, old feelings of fear or loss or being afraid, right? All of that can come up. But again, with this Chariot, just keep moving forward, just keep it moving forward, just keep moving forward. That's what I'm hearing. Like even amidst, just like courage can exist when you feel scared, you feel like you're not doing something, right? This heartbreak that can come up, that can coexist with this Chariot energy of just like, I feel sad and I'm upset and like I'm overwhelmed, right? But I can still keep moving forward. Obviously, take time for yourself, give yourself some nourishing, loving, gentle, kind energy, but you can show up for yourself. You can do these things. You can offer love and compassion for yourself in a way that maybe you hadn't before. So, again, I think the big thing I'm getting for you guys from group 3 for this whole reading is like letting things that seem like they're opposing exist together actually, and let them kind of move forward. So this 3 of Swords is, about letting some feelings of emotion come up, but also understanding you can still keep moving forward and have that energy with that. And again, this energy, or this card, the Nine of Wands, is really about kind of like, taking the metaphorical blindfold off and being like, oh, I can handle this. I can do this. I can move forward. I can keep going. I can, it's kind of like having the having the courage to look these fear stories in the eye and be like, okay, actually, I can do something different. I can be different. I can, allow these things to move forward in this way. So just knowing that, you're not doing something wrong if like these big emotions come up. They actually come up when we are trying to have a different life for ourselves, when we are trying to do something different for ourselves to change our life in some way, versus like these things don't come up when we're like stuck in our comfort zone, stuck in our bubble, and stuck in like, I'm never growing or changing, or I don't want anything, right? So when we push ourselves to be different and grow and expand and change, that's when these stories about ourselves come up, because we're like moving out of our comfort zone, we're expanding, we're moving forward, we're being different than what was happening before. So really like, leaning into that and trusting that. Okay, I'm going to pull one oracle card for you guys in group 3. The Explorer. Look at that. Okay, so this I think goes really well with courage. First of all, it takes courage to explore. Okay, it takes courage to try something different, to see what works for you, what doesn't work for you, to get out of your comfort zone, to break your routine, right? But then we also have, look at this, what we can see with the eye versus the heart, what we feel. That's really beautiful. But also the Explorer, again, am I brave enough to explore what's in me? Am I brave enough to turn inward? Am I brave enough to check what's in my heart? Am I brave enough to do, all of that? So the Explorer energy is really a reminder that it takes courage to, first of all, be reflective and be like, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What do I want? What do I want to have happen? Right? That energy is definitely there with the Explorer, but also like to be brave, to try something different, to expand yourself. Just exploring, our own internal world, which is harder for more people than, exploring stuff outside of us, right? So if we have the courage to go inward, to challenge ourselves, to think what's going on, those things can come out on the other side of, showing up in those things. So it does take courage to explore. And so if you're even thinking about it, a lot of people don't even reflect a little bit in their lives. Just give yourself be proud of yourself, and, wanting to grow and change is not what everyone does. So Good job. It's really easy to not do that and to like kind of turn away from that. So just feeling proud of yourself for that. Okay, and then I'm going to pull one affirmation card for you guys to close your reading. I welcome miracles into my life. Okay, so again, sometimes we can think like a miracle is this big giant moment of, oh my God, I got this, and those are miracles, you know, but also miracles are just A Course in Miracles calls a miracle just a shift in perception. So just even being open to understanding like, hey, courage can exist with fear. These emotions can come up that don't feel the best, and I can trust I'm moving forward, right? So I welcome miracles into my life. It could just be a new way of thinking. It could just be being open to God's guidance. It could just be being open to like some compassion to yourself in a way you haven't before, right? But I welcome miracles into my life. Just remember that like every time you loosen your grip, every time you ask for help, every time you whatever, like you're opening up to that frequency and for a way for a miracle to come in that maybe wasn't able to come in before. So I welcome miracles into my life. Really beautiful. Okay, thank you so much. Is everything I have for you. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much. Happy full moon, and I hope you have a wonderful day.